A win is a win. And, I was thinking about this because the first half, there were moments, whether you're burning a timeout for no reason, whether it's Tua hanging on to the ball or Julian Hill making a mistake or something, and you get frustrated about what's going on at times. And then in the end, you win 34-19, and you kind of play a better second half. You have to say overall, there are frustrating things. You're wondering, okay, wait a minute. There's one guy that is killing you constantly, right? So why don't you stop the tight end? You know what I'm saying? And somehow or another, you don't stop the tight end. And the kid has, you don't put Jalen Ramsey. All these little things that we can talk about. But I think that that's wrong on our part. And mine too, by the way, because we have to understand if we demand all this perfection from them, they wouldn't have 4 extra losses on their schedule right now. And so I was thinking about this. At the end of every game, it doesn't matter if it's a win or even a loss, you're going to be frustrated. Just like you are today, even though it's a 34-19, you're going to go, well, I'm not that impressed. You kind of let them back into the game. You did this, you did that, but that's who they are. And so we just have to be grateful. Like I told you at the beginning of the show in the pregame, look, man, they're not going to tank. They're not firing anybody. So get off your horse. Stop complaining about that stuff. They're not going to do any of that stuff, right? So what do we do as fans? We just got to root, right, and hope for the best. And I told you, all I'm going to hope for is that they play their best game possible, their cleanest game possible, and win the game. Well, they won the game. Okay? And it's not going to be something that is painted in a perfect light every single time. You know what I'm saying? And that's one thing that we have to all understand. This is an imperfect team because of the head coach. He's not a good head coach. He's just not a good game day coach. He's going to make bad decisions. And listen, he was fantastic today. Achan, I thought you're wearing his ass out. Calais Campbell's on special teams, trying to block punts and stuff. And I'm looking at him going, I think you're wearing his ass out. And those are little examples of bad coaching where you're overusing players. And that's the reason why you overused Jalen Phillips when he wasn't even ready. He didn't even have a training camp. He didn't even have a full training camp, and you put him out there in the regular season, and you started giving him a hefty amount of reps. And even when he injured himself, you still kept him out there. There's all kinds of irresponsibilities, is what I'm trying to tell you. So nothing is going to be perfect, man. So if they win today, we have to be grateful as Dolphin fans because you don't have a great coach on the sidelines. So you're not going to be guided perfectly or almost perfectly. Or put it this way, you know how it is that when it's a great coach, you're guided perfectly. A player or two will make a mistake, but you know what happened. The player or two made a mistake. But when it's everyone making mistakes constantly, coaches and players and all kinds of stuff, Julian Hill finally made a play today. And then Julian Hill, of course, screwed up a couple of other plays. And these are the things that you wonder, why is he still on the field? Right? Because we all wonder, why is Julian Hill still on the field? Because his negatives outweigh his positives by miles. But that's why we have to be grateful right now at 34-19. And we can sit there and nitpick about this, that, many of the things that I've talked about already. What else do I have any other ones that by the way, the play, the 3rd and 10 right now at the end of the game that he throws to Smythe. That's pure stupidity. All these little things all throughout the game that will frustrate the shit out of you. But unfortunately, we have to be just grateful that they won. Because for us to demand Mike McDaniel to be a finished product, come on, man, that's not going to happen. Why would you throw the ball there? I saw Ross Tucker mention it too, because it's, my God, it's stupid. It's like watching Tua hold the ball, and it's, come on, kid, don't do that. You're in traffic. Get rid of the ball. He fumbles, and he almost lost the possession. So these are things that cannot be coached out of your team because your coach habitually makes mistakes. He was joking with the writers this week about getting the plays in. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, it's me. I screwed it up. And like taking it lightly. So if you take your own mistakes lightly, how are you going to take your players' mistakes seriously? So we all have to, as Dolphin fans, we all have to realize we're not going to get great football ever. We're not going to get a team that is well coached, well managed. So we just simply have to be grateful if they win. And that's where the bar is. That's how low it is. This is not a playoff caliber team right now. They have playoff caliber talent, but because of their leadership, you're in peril even against the Raiders. A game that should have never been in peril was. A game that should have never been in doubt was. And these are the things that we have to live with. So we have to all understand that we just have to be grateful for victories. And so let's hope that next week they can pull out another one and keep pulling out the ones at least against the crappy teams. And then when you start playing the better teams, somehow or another, find your best game possible. Little things. You watch the way they play with Tyreek. You see why the defender got to the corner when he threw to Tyreek. And because what's it called? Tua had to loft it. Why do you think he had to loft it? Because he knows he has a wrist injury. So he's trying to place it. There was an early route that he ran a short in route, and Tua delivered the ball right there in the basket, dude. And I'm like, Tua's a master, bro, because he puts it right where he doesn't have to use his wrists. He can basket it because of his. So he was trying to loft it because he can't fire it because he can't do this. And that's where you're hurting your team, because now you're making the pass even harder because your quarterback is adjusting to your receiver's injury. Because of the receiver's injury, he had to adjust that throw. And because he had to adjust that throw, the defensive back had more than enough time to close in and bat the ball down. These are things that frustrate you. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you thought about it that deeply like I did, but that's what was going on. That's the reality of all of that. And so then if you have to alter it, then you're hurting your team because you couldn't complete the play. But this comes from the top. Your head coach is allowing shit like that to happen, where no, we're not doing that. That's too hard to complete because Reek only has one option. We can't bullet in it. Tua had to loft it. He couldn't bullet it in there, because if he does, then he's definitely not. Hell, you bullet in there with two good wrists, Tyreek may not catch it. See what I'm saying? So I can start going through all these little things that went throughout the game that frustrate the shit out of me. And I would argue over and over with the coach about not doing these kind of things. But by the end of the game, I was like, this is our problem. Our problem is we're expecting chicken salad out of chicken. And we're screwing it up. We're frustrating ourselves for no reason at all, because that's not realistic. So why would we expect something that's unrealistic? Let's just root. Let's just hope. And today, our prayers were answered. They won. So, the craziness of keeping your playoff hopes alive or whatever, if you want to believe that crap, it's there. At least you won, and at least you're not thoroughly. They're not going to change anybody. So I'm not the guy that's going to sit here rooting against the Dolphins. So I had a friend of mine that's like, I'm hoping these assholes lose and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So I'm glad they won. Okay. It wasn't pretty, but I'll take it. I'll take it as a blessing. That's the way I'm going to look at it, unfortunately. Am I happy with what I'm watching? No, not at all. Am I impressed with today's win? No, not at all, but I'm grateful. And that's all I can ask for. And let's see if they can pull it off next week again, and we'll see. We'll see. We shall see what we shall see, as they say.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.